Should you pay your student loans during the CARES Act? This is what we are going to discuss today. We're going to look at what does the CARES Act say about student loans, kind of unpack what it means, and then look at if you should be paying your student loans during this time. So let's get started. Hey everyone, this is Lauren Mack with Hacking the Rat Race, and I would love for you to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos on money, saving, and investing. So again, like I said, we want to examine should you pay your student loans during the CARES Act. And I'm sure most of you know what the CARES Act is now and are familiar with parts of it because it was a massive piece of legislation. However, there was a part that was put towards student loans, and so that's the piece that I want to unpack today. So on March 27th, the president signed the CARES Act. And for student loans specifically, this had an impact going back to March 13th to September 30th. And so what it did is it made an administrative forbearance, which basically means that your student loans were just put on hold during this time. So you don't have to make payments during this time. And if you were making reoccurring automatic drafts, then they were most likely put on hold. I'd like to make one caveat here. This only applies in the CARES Act directly to federal student loans. So if you have private student loans or student loans with a bank, for example, those would not be included. However, because of what's going on right now, so many other banks and other institutions have made their own forbearance plans as well as ways to help people during this time. So while the CARES Act wouldn't directly apply to you, this video could be applicable because if your bank or creditor is allowing, say, a forbearance during this time as well, then you might still be wondering, should you pay your student loan during this time? So back to the CARES Act. It went from March 13th to September 30th. If, say, your automatic draft pulled out on March 20th, then you could even get a refund for that payment as long as it was after March 13th. Additionally, during this time from March 13th to September 30th, federal student loans are at a 0% interest rate. So it's not accruing more interest during this time, and it's basically just put on hold. The other good news is if your student loans were in some type of collections, and again, we're talking about federal student loans, those have been paused as well. So this is huge for people during this time who have a burden of student loans because A, they're paused, B, you have 0% interest. However, this money is not forgiven. So I just want to be clear because some people, I think that these will not have to be paid in the future. These payments will still have to be paid. They were just put on hold. They are not forgiven. However, you are not accruing interest on them at this time either, which is a huge bonus. So now we need to determine, should you be paying your student loans during the CARES Act? And I think it depends on your situation. For one, if you've lost your job and you are struggling financially and you are just having a hard time keeping up with your basic necessities, then I would say yes, let them pass, let them be on hold, assuming they're federal and they are on hold. If you have student loans which are not federal and you are struggling right now, especially to make ends meet, maybe you lost your job, maybe you had a pay cut, whatever it is, if your bank or creditor hasn't given you specific instructions on forbearance or something like that, I highly recommend reaching out to them and just seeing what options are available for you. I know during this time, there are so many people who have been negatively impacted and are struggling to get by. If this is you, then I would recommend not making your student loan payment during this time, saving this money, and trying to get caught up and make ends meet because this is so important. I also want to make a side note here that by not making these payments on the federal student loans during the time from March 13th to September 30th, it also will not have a negative impact on your credit. And also during this time, the credit bureaus are allowing you to pull your credit report every 2 weeks. So if you're afraid that somehow something is getting negatively reported in error, you can check it. Normally, you can only pull your credit report free once per year, but during this time period, the credit bureaus are allowing you to pull it free every 2 weeks. So if you're concerned about that, you can pull it every 2 weeks and just check, and if there are any errors, you can dispute them with the credit bureau. That being said, if you are less financially impacted, maybe you haven't lost your job, you didn't take a pay cut, then I would suggest paying more money towards your student loan now because it is 0% interest. Every payment you make during this time goes directly to principal. And this is so important because you can pay it off so much faster. So if you have some extra money, if you are not struggling financially, if you are doing a debt snowball, then I would take that money that you would normally pay for your student loan and pay it to your smallest debt, because I know right now a lot of creditors are offering deals where it's 0% interest, maybe you have forbearance. So this is a time when you can get really aggressive with your debt snowball and pay things off fast because they are 0% interest, or in some cases in forbearance. So for example, if you have your student loan payment and you don't have to make it during this time, and maybe you're paying off another debt, you could put it on hold and take all that money and crush that other debt. If in your debt snowball you are at your student loan, then I would say during this time, because it's all going to principal, scrape up as much money as you can and get it paid off. So I think it just depends on where you are. If you are really struggling financially, then I would take this time and take that forbearance. That's what it's for, and not put more money towards your student loan so you can get caught up and that you're not struggling and behind on your other bills, and you are able to feed yourself and your family at this time. That being said, like I said, if you have extra money, I would be taking all the extra money you have right now and throwing it at paying off your debt, since so many debt types, including federal student loans under the CARES Act, don't have interest at the moment. You can really get it paid off quickly. This is literally like transferring it to a 0% interest credit card, but you don't have the massive minimum payment. So regardless of which side you're on, I would definitely take advantage of this time and do what's best for your family. However, I just want to reiterate, if you are financially stable, this is a prime time right now to be able to get out of debt way more quickly. I would definitely consider making those payments and extra payments if possible to expedite the process. Oh, and one more thing I want to mention, like I said earlier in the video, if you have automatic draft set up, it is most likely paused, especially if you have federal student loans. So if you decide that you want to make these payments, you will most likely have to make them manually. So take that into consideration. Look at your bank statement, because you may think, oh, I'm already getting this payment withdrawn and it's going towards principal, when they're not actually withdrawing money from your account. So if you want to make these payments, which I highly recommend, then you will probably need to go in and make them manually. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button. It does so much for this channel, and it pushes this video out to other people who are wondering if they should pay their student loan during the CARES Act. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos on money, saving, and investing. And I will see you in the next video.